I have two people waiting. How exciting. Is it Sharon and Maddie? That's my guess. We're gonna get started in what? Is it 3 seconds?
Are you on live?
We're on live, we're live.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have my mic. Give me 1 second.
It's not showing up.
Not showing up as live.
It's not showing up as live?
It's not showing up as going right yet.
You're live, 30
there we
seconds
go.
live.
So you
Okay,
just
good.
take the
Oh, we have
bits
3
of it,
people
yeah.
now on. Hello, everyone.
Say who's on?
Thanks for coming. We have a live chat in this live class, and we have a whole team behind the scenes. Amazing. They're going to be answering any of your questions or just popping up, and we'll answer them live here. So if you want to say who is on, there's 3 people it looks like tuned in. Just go ahead and put your name in the live chat, and I want to say hi. I'm guessing it's Sharon and Maddie, isn't it? So we're gonna get started right away. I'll just kind of wait for some others to join. It's 12:01. We have Kathy. Candy. Hi, Candy. And 2 more. That will be, oh, there's 5 now. Okay, we're getting there. So everybody's getting settled. Everybody gets settled. Hopefully everybody received their email this morning. And you get your recipe book, a PDF copy of the 10 raw fermented probiotic recipes. This is kind of like a workshop / recipe book all in one. How amazing is that, right? Just wanted to do a little capture of my pickle earrings. Yes, those are pickle earrings because I am the pickle lady. So hi everyone, thanks for joining. Like I said, go ahead and enter all your questions in the live chat. We have little people behind the scenes. We got our little people helpers here, our little fairies.
I resemble that.
Yeah, one definitely resembles that. And we can answer any of your questions and just tell us who's tuning in. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. So this is the, oh, we have a question already. Bob, hey Bob, how's it going? Bob's been a big ferment fan for months and months. Thanks, Bob. So yeah, so let's get started. Oh, we have more. Okay, I'll just keep going with the excitement here. Yeah.
Candy has a question about the book being sent out after, or was it sent out already?
It was sent out at 8 o'clock this morning. So if you didn't get that email, I used the email that you used to sign in when you RSVP'd for your tickets. So maybe recheck your email. If not, I will send it again. I mean, we could just plop your email into the live chat and we can get somebody, our little people behind the scenes, to send you another email. Maybe it's a different email. Maybe I just copy and pasted it, so it should have been the one that you signed in on. All right, so yeah, this is the booklet. It has 10 recipes, but we are just gonna go over probiotic pickles. This is the probiotic pickles workshop, 1-hour online class. Thank you for pivoting. You know, hopefully everybody read my very vulnerable post. We had to do a lot of changes, lots going on, but here we are, we made it. And this is actually the direction I wanna go anyways. I love the online, cozy at home kind of version. This is the test kitchen. We have, you know, all my display back there we'll talk about. So yeah, so let's follow along in the book. And I'll just do a little introduction. The first page is actually about us. So I'm Elaine. I am the Herbal Mama, founder of the Herbal Mama Company. I established in 2010 when I became a mama. I was a herbalist for years. I worked at Optimum Health and all clinics all over Alberta. Then I started selling probiotic products all over the farmers market scene from 2016. And here I am today. What is it? Almost 10 years later. How awesome is that, right? I just love fermenting, and I'm excited to show you how easy it is to make amazing probiotic products in your home. So yeah, there's a picture of me and little Orion. This is when I was actually in commercial kitchen. I do everything from home now, just so you know, from my home to yours, and loving the farmers markets. And I'll tell you a lot at the end where you can get my products. But for now, you're gonna try to make it yourself. And it's actually really easy, so you're not gonna have to rely on me to come to the farmers market, but come and say hi anytime. So yeah, so my passion is definitely reacquiring traditional skills that our great grandma used to do. Fermentation is a really old traditional skill. before pasteurization and canning came to be. This is not a canning workshop. It's actually way easier than canning. You don't need as many ingredients. You don't need any high heat. I'm not using any stoves. I am using raw vegetables, herbs, salt. We got all the ingredients here. We got garlic and dill for flavoring, and this is what it's going to look like. So we'll get into that in a bit. First, I wanted to go with your book. So if you follow along, the next page is Fermentation 101. So kind of like the definition, right? This is not a canning workshop. This is a fermentation workshop, the old school probiotic pickling that great grandmothers used to do for years and thousands of years. So Fermentation 101, what is the definition of fermentation? Well, it's alchemy. How cool is that, right? The alchemical breakdown of a substance by bacteria, yeasts, and other microorganisms. And it's accompanied by a delightful effervescence. This is a very poetic book, by the way. I kind of got a little, my fairies came and helped me write it. And yeah, the process of fermentation is that microbial breakdown, which can create an effervescence. So we're going to talk about that in the process. I don't know if you guys saw my videos that I put up on YouTube with the carrots, and it is like an effervescent volcano. You can avoid that. That didn't happen with this because it wasn't sealed so tight. So there's a hint, and we're going to go over more details. I'm going to try to repeat things throughout because repetition is the mama of all education, right? So fermentation, alchemical breakdown. This is not an alcohol making workshop. Hope you know that. Perfect. Nobody's leaving yet. Good. Okay. But the process of making alcohol is obviously fermentation is a part of it, and then distillation is the other part. So I could make pickle booze, but I'm not. I'm trying to keep it at the fermentation level of alchemy, so we have all this nutritional value. And I'm going to go into the nutrition in the pages coming up here. So yeah, so it's distillation is more of the alcohol. That's the next stage in alchemy. One thing I like to define is starters. A lot of people think they need starters to ferment. You don't necessarily have to. It's called wild fermentation, actually. So this is an amazing book by Sandor Katz, and it's literally called Wild Fermentation. And it's basically just using the wild yeasts and bacteria that are naturally found on your vegetables. So the more kind of like dirty from the soil, the better. And just the air and the environment is just beaming with microorganisms. So when you're going to be brewing your wild ferments in your home, it's going to work with your environment. So you're actually going to build the perfect immunity for your family because it's working with the environmental microorganisms. Like, how cool is that? This is why everybody needs to be fermenting in their home, because you're going to build literal immunity for the whole family, plus vitamins and probiotics, and that is the immunity, right? So yeah, starter, I don't necessarily use starters. You can, and in the recipe it talks about using whey as a starter. I've liked whey. It's not vegan, obviously. It's something that is from yogurt. It's that liquid that sits on the top of yogurt. You can also use a fully fermented pickle juice from your previous ferments. And what they do is it helps to speed up the process. So this is going to be a wild fermentation demo, but like you have the definition there. So you have many different ways to find a starter. Kombucha is something you need a starter. You need a SCOBY. That SCOBY is basically a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. So the starter forms an actual living looking thing. Like a SCOBY. SCOBY from kombucha looks like a slimy pancake, for example. I don't know if you've ever seen them. And then there's like water kefir. They have beautiful little crystal-like looking grains. That is also a SCOBY, so it's actually formed into a substance, right? That is about it for that. So yeah, so obviously all of that is, you can speed up your ferments with the starter or not. So we talked a little bit, next page guys, we talked a little bit about canning versus fermentation. Totally different things. Canning is more of a modern way of preservation. And fermenting is the old school style. And canning, I actually don't do a lot of canning. And there is more, like a lot of people are scared of fermenting. They think they're gonna poison their family. Please don't fear. I'm gonna take the fear away. You're gonna fearlessly be fermenting in your kitchen after this because actually has never been any reports of anybody, any fatalities with fermenting, but there has been with canning. Canning can cause botulism. So if you don't can properly, you don't pasteurize properly, basically when you pasteurize, you're killing everything, right? So there's no nutrition left, there are no probiotics left, good microbacteria to help to fight off any pathogens. So you're left with nothing, so you really have to process them properly, or else you could, if they're not, the jar's not sealed, don't eat it. That's my canning advice, but this is not a canning workshop. So fermentation, you'll know if it goes off. It's gonna turn into a stinky, slimy, dark colored, compost looking food. You're not gonna wanna eat it. Nobody's gonna wanna eat that food. So you'll know when it goes off, you'll see the mold, you'll see the rot, but I'm gonna show you how to not actually obviously not get to the rot, okay guys? So no fears about fermenting. It is so easy and so straightforward. You just, you need the salt is the main thing, and herbs and the right environment. So we're gonna go over that soon. So the nutrition of fermenting, my favorite part. I was a nutritionist for years. Well, I was nutritional consultant. I'm not supposed to use that term in Alberta. I was nutritional consultant at Optimum Health Vitamins for years, and this is actually what got me into fermenting, because people weren't getting results with their probiotic pills. So it was really frustrating because they'd pay $60 for a bottle of pills and not get any results. They are still bloated. They were still feeling, like just mind fog, the whole digestive issues, distension, all the other things that go along with that. And until they started consuming fermented foods. So we had certain ones that were available at the store. And then I started fermenting for my clients, and they had such phenomenal results. I personally noticed a difference because I was consuming probiotic pills, wasn't really noticing a difference. As soon as I would literally eat a probiotic carrot, my stomach digestion would just calm down. I'd feel lighter, less bloated. I'd have, all my brain fog would disappear. So that just kind of shows you right there. Probiotics are actually very anti-inflammatory. So they're going to be anti-inflammatory in the gut. Everything starts and ends in the gut anyways, right? But what you're getting out of your ferments once they're completely fermented, your probiotic ferments, the process of fermentation naturally increases probiotics, obviously, enzymes, so digestive enzymes, all sorts of different enzymes help with inflammation. Lots of vitamins, so vitamin B complex, which is a big part of your multivitamins. And most people don't get enough B vitamins. I would recommend getting it through your fermented foods and throwing away your...
Is your mic on?
Is my mic on?
Mic check.
Check, check, mic check. As people can't hear me. Is there a chat? Maybe turn, oh, you don't want any background noise though. We're good. Okay, sorry, we just made a mic check. I got my little fairies. They're taking care of business. Okay. So, yeah, B vitamins, the B vitamin complex, the whole family, not just B12. There's more than just 12. There's B1, B2, B3, B6, and more. And so the fermentation process actually brings that out. It's a microbial transformation. So you're not going to see a B complex in your cucumber, but once it's fermented into a pickle, then you get all your multivitamin. Throw your multivitamin away. Throw your probiotics away. There, I said it. Vitamin K as well. Vitamin K is like a very magical nutrient, very misunderstood, unfortunately. It helps with absorption of calcium and minerals, bone health. It's good for clotting. It actually helps to balance clotting. It's not gonna, everybody thinks it's gonna make you clot. Well, actually, it's mostly just medication interactions, but vitamin K on its own, if you consume it regularly, you won't have to worry about clots. It helps to break those down. And then the enzymes and everything, inflammation of all these, like these are literally such magical nutritional foods that we're going to be making today. I'm so excited for everyone. The mineral content, trace mineral content of all your vegetables will be increased. Most vitamins and minerals are increased by about 100 times, according to a lot of studies. If anybody needs those studies, at the end of the video here, I'm definitely, I'll get, if anybody needs any extra information, pardon me, I can send you some studies if you want. Just go on to PubMed though and do a little research on kimchi and sauerkraut. Like more and more is coming out every day. Amino acid availability is increased. Antioxidant levels are increased. I used to sell at Optimum Health these antioxidants for $100. They're probably $200 now because that was years ago. And that same antioxidant is found in pickles. So you're gonna save hundreds of dollars, guys, by just learning how to do this easy, super easy method of fermentation. Vitamin C, well documented, lots of university studies, 100 times increase in nutrient value. Our immune system, like a lot of studies have been done about like how people's immune system responds after they consume fermented foods. There's like a huge increase because most of the our immune system is built in our guts. Like if our guts are rotting, our immune system is working only on our guts. So it has no time to work on anything else that's going on in the body. So if you can keep it probiotic, you'll have great immunity. Keep that inflammation down. That's what our immune cells go and work on, right? So yeah, and lots of PubMed kimchi study. I love this. Oh yeah, so yeah, when you ferment foods, I generally like to use local organic produce. So right now these cucumbers are from Lacombe Fresh from the Bountiful Farmers Market. I just picked them up today. And they use a natural pesticide method of getting rid of any of their pests. So they don't use any pesticides. They use ladybugs. The ladybugs eat the pests, the aphids and all these things that will, munch on their produce before it gets to the market. And so I like to go with that, and they use a natural mineral solution to grow their vegetables. I also work with a lot of farmers market vendors that are certified organic. I do prefer, the more nutrients you're going to have in your vegetables, the more nutrients you're going to, transform to 100 times more nutrients. So think about that. So what you start with, you're going to have a better end result because you're getting 100 times more nutrients when you ferment. So some people say, well, sometimes it's not affordable to get organic, and I get that. But, and if you're, in that group of people and you have some pesticide ridden vegetables that you want to ferment, fermentation actually cleans it up. There's a study that it was 100% reduction of pesticide levels because of the transformation, magical process of fermentation. So that's a study on PubMed. That was for kimchi. Kimchi has about 6 different vegetables. So they studied, the step by step, and the pesticide levels just kept going down every day that the fermentation happened. Like, isn't that just phenomenal? I love it. So next page is kind of a breakdown of your overall comparison of different ferments. We're doing lacto ferment today, and that's a huge category. That's your sauerkraut, that's your yogurt, lactobacilli acidophilus. I'm sure you've seen that. So that's the main category and group of bacteria, of beneficial bacteria. And it's working with the natural lactic acid that's a part of every organism. So it just helps it kind of works. It's like a metabolism, the cellular function of every organism, including humans, but vegetables are included in that. And there was other categories. So kefir is another one, kombucha, you need starters for both of them. But we're doing lacto fermented pickles today. So I'll just talk about that and keep going because we're 17 minutes in and I got to keep it to an hour because I tend to talk a lot about these stories. So thanks fairies for keeping me going. So lactic acid we talked about, next page. And then salt. We're using salt as it's a natural microbial gatekeeper. So the salt is basically in your ferments to help to prevent pathogens from taking over. So if you're just going to do a compost pile, you wouldn't put salt, right? You want it to rot. You want it to get nasty and brown and stinky out in your garden. Salt will keep your vegetables from doing that. So it just keeps the microbes at a healthy level, keeps the pathogens out, and any harmful ones, so the beneficial ones can thrive. I always recommend using the right salt. This one's from Costco. Pink salt, very affordable. I use Himalayan because it's very affordable. Celtic sea salt's great. It's just very pricey. And I mean, some people don't believe in there's a lot of pollution in the oceans. But, salt is naturally antiseptic, and it helps to keep everything clean. So I use Himalayan salt anyway. So we won't have a debate about different salts. Himalayan salt is what I use. It's most affordable. I would recommend that. Some of the history of fermenting. I don't know if you saw my video, but I did a workshop at the Wild Roses Festival this summer, and I talked about somebody asked me how long the ferments will stay in the fridge. And, you know, kind of proving this, the Captain Cook story proves that there is a lot of vitamin C in sauerkraut. So they had sauerkraut on their ship for 3 years. And it was on the bottom of the ship, so it's refrigeration temperature. These have to be stored in the fridge, in the cold. And it lasted 3 years. If stored properly under the brine, you're fine. 3 years in your fridge, guys. Like it's a really, you know, good storage. It's not canning for 20 years on the shelf, but you just need a cold room. You need a cold area to store it. And the vitamin C content was so high even back then. When Captain Cook's days, they knew that if they just consumed sauerkraut, nobody on the ship got scurvy because the vitamin C content was so high. And there's just, so you read the history of fermentation, there's some beautiful stories about that, but we're gonna keep cruising through because we're gonna get to the pickle making. So hopefully everybody feels good about why they're fermenting. They're getting a lot of nutritional value. We're saving a lot of money and it's delicious. So on your holiday charcuterie boards, you're gonna come with the most magical pickles anybody's ever seen, right? And you're gonna host all your guests and know that you're giving them some gut-loving, life-giving, real food medicine. So if you turn your pages, the first couple pages is sauerkraut, raw sauerkraut, kimchi. Look at all those recipes you're getting. Amazing, right? The pineapple salsa kraut, big hit. Love it. I've used peach instead of pineapple. Cortito is an Ecuadorian salsa. That's Maddie's favorite. Hey, Maddie. I know you're there somewhere. And then we get to, I didn't page number, but we get to probiotic pickles. So there is your recipe, basically. And like you guys, it's so easy. You don't even need a recipe. But this will give you, you know, a lot of people get overwhelmed and they want to start somewhere. But this is not like baking where you need a certain amount of salt or else your pickles won't rise. You know what I mean? It's not like baking. This is not rocket science. This is a good kind of guide. But from there, I'll explain how you can use less salt, more salt, depending on your taste. Some people want, like I don't use as much salt as Nourishing Traditions. And I just need to plug Nourishing Traditions because I didn't really talk about this book. This book changed my life. As you can see, it's really well used. I don't know if you can tell. Sally Fallon actually signed the book. So she's the author. I met her at a conference and she said to the class, she's like, this is how your book should look. It's really well used. It's like, spilled on and bent pages. Anyways, so this book has a whole chapter on fermentation. Her recipe for pickles is double the salt that I use. And I found them way too salty. And I love salt. But then I had this one client, he was Egyptian. He said, Egyptian pickles are way saltier. So they probably love the Nourishing Traditions recipe. So it depends on how much salt you use, but if you use little to large amounts of salt, there is a different transformational process. So the length of time it's going to take for your ferments. So just before we get started into the recipe and I do the little live demo, I'll explain the book a little bit more because all the recipes are there and then the preparation is the same for basically all of them. And that's at one of the last pages there. So you have fast versus slow fermentation. That is a chart that will help you to determine. You sometimes have to think about all these things because the temperature in your house is going to determine the rate of fermentation. How much salt you're using is going to determine it. What types of, how much sugar are in your vegetables. So if you're doing salsa and you're using a lot of tomatoes and pineapple for that one, for example, that's going to be a fast ferment. So you're going to want to add more salt. Or you're going to want to make sure it's in a colder environment. If you have a really warm environment, it's the middle of summer, you have no air conditioning, that's awesome. But it's really hot in your house, your salsa is going to get so fizzy and it's going to ferment so fast. So the rate of fermentation can create fizziness. And also it turns to alcohol faster because this is a process to go to alcohol, right? So every time, the fermentation, it's like CO2 gases are releasing. That is a distillation process. So you want to slow that down, keep everything cold, high amounts of salt. That'll keep it, so you can control your fermentation process. So also the taste and the consistency, the texture of your vegetables. The slower the ferment, and like I only ferment my pickles for like 7 days, for example, and I use just enough salt, just like the recipe says. And cucumbers aren't a lot of sugar, and I find within 7 days it's the perfect crunchiness, perfect fermentation. It tastes like a pickle. Did I say crunchy? Yes, crunchy is very important to me with pickles, so I want to make sure it's crunchy. So you kind of have to look at all these things. But I mean, most houses are 21 degrees, right? Let's be honest. So it's not going to be, don't get overwhelmed by that. I haven't had any issues except for in like the hot days of summer. Sometimes in the hot days of summer, I've had some eruptive events happen, and that's usually with the salsas and sometimes the water kefir pops. So we're not even doing that. Pickles are really easy. Okay, so when we're pickling, we're gonna look at the recipe. So we have our ingredients. We have 1 liter, and this is a little over a liter. It's a 1.5 quart, so it's about 1.5 liters. So we just adapt the recipe with that, right? Easy. Who can't do a little bit of math like that? And if you can't, call my son. He's really good at no. But yes, basic math, guys. So you just add a little, half the amount sort of thing. So when you're doing your probiotic pickles, you can choose so many different vegetables. I just brought cucumbers today because, because I love pickles, but you can pickle carrots. So these are like whole carrots I get Peas on Earth, they're certified organic, or Maplewood Acres at Old Strathcona. They're chemical free, they used to be certified organic, they just don't pay their certification, blah, blah, blah. Talk to your farmer, get to know them, ask them if they're using chemicals. Maplewood Acres uses all sorts of sustainable farming methods, and you're saving money. So look at those whole baby cutie carrots. I just shove them in the jar and ferment them. It's so easy. And pickled carrots are incredible, right? Probiotic pickled carrots are incredible. And you can add ginger to that. Ginger and carrots together are such a great starter, especially for people that maybe have sensitive stomachs, they're new to fermentation. When you start consuming ferments, your body can go through a bit of a, cleanup phase sort of thing, getting used to all these new microbes, and some people get a lot of gas. Let's be honest, but ginger helps to reduce the bloat, reduce the gassiness, it calms everything down. Carrots are pretty gentle. Put some dill in there as well. And dill is also calming for the gut, right? Talk to your herbalist. Lots of herbs, like add as many herbs as you want. Cauliflower is incredible. Cauliflower can get mushy fast though, just like cucumbers. So you just gotta watch that. So think about like the density of your vegetables, and timing, and that whole chart that we're going to talk about, or that we've already talked about, that we'll talk about more about. Zucchini spears are great too. Those are softer, but they work out really great. Sometimes I haven't had, because in February and March, sometimes Lacombe Fresh doesn't have their pickles. So I do zucchinis and more carrots, cauliflower, daikon radish slices, so good. Okay, so let's get at her. What do we have? We got 20, oh good, we have lots of time. So we have 30 minutes to talk about how to make the easiest thing in the world, probiotic pickles. So you have your jar. Talking about jars, like I'm not gonna do it in a crock. Sometimes I do, obviously I do this as a business. So I sell jars of ferments at farmers markets. So I have 8-gallon, 10-gallon crocks in my living room, in my kitchen. I live and breathe this stuff, and I just dump it all in. But if you have a jar, so I feel like the bigger the jar, the better. If you're gonna ferment in all these little jars, it's like up to you for sure if you have a bunch of these jars, but it's meticulous getting them in there and fermenting them. And these flip tops are nice too, because some of them are really tight, and then the tighter the seal, the faster the ferment. That's another part of your chart, guys. I had these ones, and this seal, it's kind of older and it's not very sealed. So if I tried to go like this, it's going to spill everywhere. But that was good in a way because it let some air go. So when you get the air flowing and it's not as tight, you're not going to get as the effervescent experience, which can be messy and overflowing. Do you have a question? No, okay. And so that's something you want to avoid. Some people have those airlock systems too. I don't use those. I just feel like I like things simple, minimalist. And I like using these pretty jars. Like when I'm making my own ferments, I just like using those pretty jars. So pick your jar. I would use like, you know, some liters because it's easier. And then when they're stored, which we'll go over again in a bit, I would just not seal it as tight. And then you won't have to worry about effervescence spilling over. Everything's cool and just like a cucumber on your counter. All right, so we're gonna fill this jar. So we have a 1.5 quart. So I'm gonna adjust the recipe accordingly. And I like to line them up nice because then they all fit in there and you get, you know, just utilize that space well. And so we're lining this up. Even like I've even mixed cucumbers with my carrots together and thrown cauliflower. You can do a whole mix, throw some daikon radish in there, throw some fresh ginger pieces, and I'll put the spices in. Sometimes you could put the spices underneath, but I don't know why, I just generally like to put it on top. But it's up to you because they will float on top. Like this one, for example, I used only dry dill. Sometimes I like to use fresh dill. It's not really in season anymore. And I didn't grow enough in my garden. Last year I grew so much in my garden that I froze a lot of dill. So you can do that because dill's really easy to grow, but I had a bunch of dill dud seeds. Dilly duddy seeds. It was so frustrating. But anyways, let's not complain too much about my garden. But last year, when my dill was awesome, I froze it all and it was perfect for pickling, guys. So if you want to load up on that, but honestly, dried dill weed made the most fantastic. I can't wait for the little crew back here to taste. And we'll try to get the crunch on the mic. So you'll see how crunchy, and they're so delicious. So you can use dried dill. You don't have to use fresh, although fresh will probably have a little more nutrients, but we're fermenting, so nutrients we're definitely not lacking in, guys. So I did that. I lined them all up kind of like that, right? I mean, pretty obvious. And I just smash them in there. I even have I have a lot of people saying when they buy their pickles, they can barely pull them out because I get them in there. You get bang for your buck if you still want to buy from me after. Yeah, anyways, I'm not a used car salesman. I'm just kidding. Okay. So yeah, I'm stacking them up and you do want to leave some space, but I find with pickles, because we're going to prevent the whole eruptive, effervescent process by not having such a tight seal, like having your jars slightly open so the air can flow, or you're using an airlock. You don't have to worry about the eruptive kind of space to have. And I do recommend pickle weights too, which we'll get into right away here. So yeah, so I have it all under, and you know, it's funny because like with that curve, I find it works to keep my pickles under. You know what I mean? So just shove them under there so because the last thing you want with pickles is pickles popping over the brine. I just love all these little riddles, right? Should write a kid's story. So if it's under the brine, it's fine. If pickles are popping, mold will be knocking. I just made that up. I do have a studio audience. Yes, thank you. Audience clap. No, it's good. Okay, anyways, so we're writing a children's book. That's settled, okay. Anyways, okay, so keep them under and then use that little, lip, or what is it called? The curve to your advantage. Use those curves to your advantage, you know what I mean? Okay, so I like dill garlic pickles, obviously. Who doesn't? And so, I'm just gonna add some garlic. So according to the recipe, it says 1 to 2 cloves of garlic per liter. So I generally, I don't know if you've tasted my pickles before, they're not overly garlic, you're not getting a garlic burn, but there's some significant garlic. I use 2 cloves per liter. And so if you like lots of garlic, go for it. Go 4 cloves per liter, right? This is 1.5 liters, so I would definitely be doing 3 cloves at least. Some cloves are big, some are small, just an average size clove. This is not rocket science, like I said, it's intuitive. So how much garlic do you normally use in your cooking? Do you use a lot? You double your garlic recipe? Double it, right? So I'm just gonna keep it my standard with these ones are so crazy good, and they have the perfect garlic, I find, perfect dill. I followed this recipe. So I did 2 cloves per liter. So this is 1.5 liters. Generally, I like to crush my garlic with a knife, but I'm just simple minimalist here. I don't have a knife or a cutting board. You see this? This is how easy this is. I mean, if I was cutting carrot sticks, I probably would use a cutting board. But you know what I do sometimes? I read the study about the skin of the garlic. The skin of the garlic, guys, has a lot of silica. Silica is so good for the skin and the bones. I know. So think about fermenting silica. You're gonna get 100 times more silica. Throw away your silica pills that cost $100, I think, for that like really good silica gel that I use again. But anyways, so throw that skin right in. There's another rhyme. Throw the skin right in. Okay. So we're doing 3 cloves of garlic. We're throwing the skin right in. Okay, let's write this book. And yeah, and this is my personal jar. I can do whatever I want, and I recommend you do the same. Okay. And then we have our pickling spice blend. So yes, there's those blends you get. I find they're a little weird, but that's just me. Maybe you love, it reminds you of your grandma. She probably made pickles or whatever, the old style pickles, and they usually have some kind of, there's chili in there and some anise and allspice, and it gets a little weird to me. I just like garlic and dill, but that's just me. But you can use whatever you want. Like mustard seeds are very common in that. So yeah, use whatever you want. General rule of thumb though, I wouldn't go over a tablespoon per liter, but maybe you like it extra spicy. So do whatever you want. But for me, for taste wise, this works for me. Hopefully you've tasted my pickles before at the market. Come and see me. Go on my website. You can see the markets I'm going to be at. I always have samples. But anyways, so I try to keep it within a tablespoon per liter of total spice used. And then obviously whatever you want to do on top of that. But that's just me. I try to keep it consistent, but you know how that goes. Okay, so I do have a tablespoon shoved in my salt here. So the tablespoon of spice blend is additional to your cloves of garlic. So don't include the cloves of garlic with that tablespoon. So I'm doing a full-on tablespoon for the 1 liter. Well, it's a little heaping, and I'm okay with that. And then I'm gonna do a half, and I'm eyeballing it for the other half liter. That's the 1.5 liters, right? We're adjusting the recipe slightly because I have a 1.5 liter jar here. And then I just kind of push it to the side. Okay, next, 1 tablespoon of sea salt per liter. But if you're the super salt, I'm a salty type, but if you're a super duper salty type, you could do 2 tablespoons. But just remember, what's that gonna do? Anybody in the comments, you'll win a free jar of pickles at my next workshop. I mean, no, not workshop. I'm not doing workshops for a while. My next market. What would adding more salt do to your ferment? It's in the back of your book. There's a cheat sheet in the back of the book. Would it slow down the ferment or would it speed it up? Extra salt, what does that do? Anybody answering? I'll give you guys a few moments. So I'm just gonna add the recipe that I prefer. So 1 tablespoon of salt per liter. Here's 1 tablespoon, bam, and another half liter to adjust, and I'm just eyeballing it. Nobody's answering. Nobody wants a free jar of pickles? That's okay. It would slow it down. It would. Oh, what did you say?
The fairies could take it if nobody else.
No, the fairies want a jar of pickles. Yeah, were you gonna guess that?
No, I was gonna.
Okay.
I was gonna let them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was just joking. I was trying to get them to.
I already gave it away though. It would slow it down. More salt to slow it. Oh, somebody answered?
So I'm not sure who this is, but it's Zara Fontaine.
Oh yeah.
And she says slows it down.
Hey, good one, Fontaine.
But then she retracted it.
But you were right. You were right. But I already answered. I don't know how the timing went on that.
It's delayed a bit.
It's delayed anyway,
Yeah.
so you won. I know you're from Manitoba though. That's Darlene, I think Darlene Fontaine. And thanks, Matt. I think Maddie recommended you coming here, so thanks, guys. Go community. Okay, so I'm just adding a regular schmegular. My house is pretty average temperature, 21 degrees, even though it's cold outside, but I got a furnace. Modern day convenience. Yeah, so I did just like the recipe said, and that's what these are, just like the recipe said, and we're gonna taste and I'm gonna prove. My fairies give me only honest feedback, guys, okay? Okay. The next one is the starter. We talked about that, right? Starter makes a fast ferment. So if you need these pickles in 3 days, right? And you want some extra vitamin K from the whey, from your yogurt whey, right? Or you just have another batch and you're just like, I need these pickles, like stat, right? You would add your starter. So 2 to 4 tablespoons. The more starter you use, the faster as well. So you can increase your starter to speed it up, and just starter in general speeds it up. 7 days is good for me. And honestly, sometimes, well, depending on the starter, you're probably not using a kefir starter, but kefir starter makes it really bubbly. The end result is good. It's just, it gets really effervescent. So sometimes you can make a mess on your countertop, right? So you just put a towel down, you're good. But that might, don't be alarmed if you do get a bubbly effervescent ferment. It's fine. That's just the process. That just means that things sped up for some reason. That could mean many things, right? Here's a more test. So you might not add very much salt. You might have lots of sugar in your vegetables, like beets or tomatoes or pineapple. Those aren't vegetables, but you know what I mean. And there's a lot of heat. Like maybe you have a little hot pocket in your kitchen and that's where you chose to put your ferment. That would speed it up. Maybe your seal is really tight. That's gonna speed it up. So think about all those things. And if you want to avoid the effervescence, sure. If you don't and you want to speed it up and you're good with little effervescence, you have a towel down, you have a little tray down, let her rip. All right, so we're not adding a starter. I don't add starters. I keep it simple while fermentation. Okay, and it says 1 cup or more of pure filtered water. So I mean, we'll see how much this fills because obviously there's lots of pickles and there's only a little bit of space, but it's obviously until it gets to about 1 inch underneath. As long as your pickles are under the brine, under the water, which we're creating a brine is basically water and salt. And then the spices. The spices also have lots of minerals that will help to inhibit, you know, the pathogens and the rotting. So that is your brine, is that collection of salt and water. So pickles under the brine while they're fermenting and they're fine. Even when you're storing in your fridge, you want to keep everything under the brine because if they're popping, mold will be knocking.
You're waiting for us to say it. I was like, I remember.
Oh, yeah, question.
So we do have a comment. It was Darlene.
Okay, yeah.
And she says, thanks, Maddie, for letting me know about this. Amazing.
Thanks, Darlene. You're amazing. Okay, beautiful. All right, so this is a brine ferment, as it says on your recipe there, right? So we talked about what the frick is a brine. Easy. It's water and salt, guys. No brainers. So easy. No need to crush the ingredients like you would crush sauerkraut. Previously, if you read the sauerkraut recipe, we're not crushing anything. We want to keep these pickles crunchy. Do not crush. And you're letting the salt dissolve. Some people boil the water, let the salt dissolve in the water fully before they make their brine. Psh, that makes, why do an extra step, guys? This is easy, right? And especially if you're only doing it jar by jar. It's not like you have this giant amount of salt. So I'll just tell you, a little back up, only 15 minutes left. Okay, we're good. I can't believe I'm doing this in an hour. Usually I go over time. But anyways, when I'm doing my giant 8-gallon pickles and I need 3 cups of salt, I boil them down. So the salt doesn't sit on the bottom and I'm not like reaching in with my arm trying to mix the salt, right? With the jars, I can mix it. I just actually literally just swirl it around like this. This is how I mix it. Boop, boop, boop. I keep it simple. So we're keeping it simple. This is the simple version. If you guys want to do your own business, talk to me. We'll talk about getting crocks. But for now, we're going to talk about jars and doing this on your kitchen counter, fearlessly fermenting. So I'm adding, let's see, this was 4 cups in this measuring. So it's maybe about 2 cups. Not that amount, just fill it up. fill it up until it's about 1 inch below, and make sure everything is under the water. So I see my garlic and my garlic skins are popping a bit. No big deal, because I recommend with this kind of fermenting, with my crocks I use plates to keep them down, just my whatever standard plates. I don't get any fancy weights because I'm keeping it simple, okay? But this is like this cool like glass. Have you seen these? They're like a lid for the gem jars. I love those. I do have a weight. I think last time I talked to Maddie, I'm like, I don't use weights, and I don't, because I use plates. Hey, it rhymes. In my crocks. I generally never do this. I do it in a crock, guys, because I do mass production, right? Yeah. But if you're doing it at home, totally. I would recommend getting a weight. This is from Mason Tops. You can probably order them online. And it's kind of nice. It has these little handles. I can hold on to it, and it keeps the brine on top. So the pickles are fine. So let's just move it over. But yeah, you could use a mason jar. These ones are kind of like light, and they sometimes can slide down. So you're going to have to babysit anyways. You should babysit these for 7 days, like, you know, not like the whole time, 24/7, but just checking them every day. And so I'm going to use this weight. And so it's a good thing we left 1 inch of room, because the water is almost flowing over, guys. I don't know what with this accent I have, but anyway. Okay. It's like my little fairy accent. Yes. So the pickles are already under that lip of the jar. So that's perfect. But now that we do this and the water's right to the top, that's fine. That's totally fine if the water is all the way to the top. To prevent spillage, which is annoying and messy, that's all. It's fine. It's just messy. Just try to... So if you have a twist lid, leave some air. Don't slam it in there like you're, you know, some Hulk or anything like that. Who's calling me? No, my dad's calling again. I told him not to call till 2. Uh-oh, my dad might need my help. Anyways, okay. And so this could be a tight seal, because this is a nice fresh seal. And it's kind of unfortunate, to be honest, which sounds ridiculous to say, but I don't really, you know, the tighter the seal, the faster the ferment, the more effervescent it will be, because it's fermenting so fast. I did add quite a bit of, you know, enough salt. So it's not like I'm lacking in salt. So that won't kind of work with that speeding of the ferment to make the mess, to make the effervescence. Effervescence is fine though. Once that effervescence period, it's usually 1 to 3 days. So let's go to preparation. We have 12 minutes to finish up this hour-long class. And we'll spend it all talking about babysitting our ferments. Our little babies that we're creating. Because this is like food medicine baby for our babies and our family and ourself. We get to mama ourselves with good food and nourishment. So preparation. So that's underneath the fast and slow ferment. That's your last page, guys. This is all the stuff you'll need for the next 7-ish days, just to remember for preparation and babysitting. So we're mixing all the ingredients. Like I said, I like to twist it. Let's check the seal. Let's check it right now. I'm gonna make a mess maybe. Whoa, it's leaking a bit. So that's good. So we know that there's a little bit of air. There's a question.
Kind of. Looks like there's a little bit of technical issue. It seems like the booklet that was emailed doesn't really work on the phone. I can open it on my computer. I can't open it on my phone. So somebody's having a problem with it.
Candy's having a problem with it.
Candy's having a problem with your PDF open on your phone. Try your laptop. Do you have a laptop or a computer? Otherwise, I will send you another. I'll try it. We'll try to work that technical difficulty.
In the break, we'll get it.
Yeah, in the break, and I can send it out right away. Yeah, and I'll check it on my phone and see what's going on there, because it's just a simple Canva PDF download, so it should work. But whatever's going on, Christina also, the little fairy in the background, Christina, You said you can't open it on your phone as well?
It wasn't working on my phone, but it was working on the computer.
But it worked on her computer. Okay. Okay, those PDF links. So silly. Okay, thanks. We'll work on that right away, Candy. Thank you, and sorry. So I'm just reading and listening. I don't know if you want to read off that. Probably not. Okay. But what we're doing is we're preparing for the fermentation process. So I'm mixing, I like to do that. I just tilted it upside down. You saw that a couple drops came out. So we know there's a bit of air flow. So it's like a natural airlock. I don't have to go pay extra to get those airlocks and have them in my kitchen and all this extra clutter. Anyways, do you like how I really promote all these? Just keep it simple. That's my motto in life. I'm trying, I'm working on it. So there's a little airflow, so we know that this is going to be just like a moderate ferment. It's not going to be so tight that it's going to speed it up, that it's going to get effervescent, that I'm going to have to probably burp it every day. If it's really tight, and you really tighten it, you might want to burp it every day.
Did you explain what burping is?
What is burping? Thank you. It's opening up. It's this. You open it up, and it's effervescent, so it goes psh, right? Psh, that's the burp. Yeah. The psh. But this one has airflow. This one, like that, I love that the seal is piss poor because it had perfect airflow. I had no effervescence, and this fermented so perfectly. So we have 9 minutes. Okay. So yeah, so we have that. We sealed the jar-ish, not so tight. There's a question.
So I can use a jar that has a twist top?
Yep.
Okay.
Just don't tighten it so hard.
Awesome.
Kind of have a little bit of airflow, and then you won't have to worry about the extra babysitting, basically. And then the weird effervescence and stuff like that people get freaked out about. But you shouldn't. If it happens, it's fine.
And isn't it with a metallic lid, it can rust
Possibly.
too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I
That's
mean,
what I learned.
1 7-day process should be fine.
Okay.
So the metal in your lids, actually it's usually like a bit of a, I think it's a ceramic coating on top, like a very light one on top of the metal. But I've found that when I've let ferment sit for a long time, those CO2 gases are constantly being released, and they can burn holes through this little, I think it's ceramic, it's some kind of coating. And then the metal starts being shown. And then literally I've seen black metal juices, and that drips down, and it tastes like metallic. And it would contaminate your ferments a bit, but you know, fermentation is pretty magical and transformative. It would probably clean it up, but it does affect the taste, I've seen. So just make sure you use really new lids. There's no breakdown on that coating. These are perfect because it's glass. Yeah. I mean, there's a rubber seal, but fermentation cleans most things up, right? So that's why we're doing this, because we are going to be clean, lean machines, not fighting. We're loving machines. Okay, get back to the, what do I have? 7 minutes. Yeah, so good question. But any kind of lid, and 7 days should be good. But yeah, if you're getting lots of effervescence, then you know that you're going to get corrosion on your lids. So something to think about, something to consider. So we have, we're not massaging anything because that's not sauerkraut. Place in a jar, and not sauerkraut again. Okay, so cover tightly or not very tightly to let a little bit of air out, but you just don't want it exposed, basically, because it would get oxidation and potential like mold growth or yeast overgrowth. And then you want it at room temperature 3 to 7 days. 3 days is usually with the starter, right? Or a fast, like hot weather, we're good with that for now. And I said like fast brine, 7 to 14 days salt only. But 14 days, I would be careful, because I would taste by 7 days or even like 6 days, I would start tasting it. And it's totally fine to open this up. You're burping, you're opening, you're pulling things out, you're mixing things in, you're like checking it out. And then you want to taste your pickle and you want to keep it fermenting. Totally fine. Open, close constantly, and tasting to see if you like the taste, the texture. That's about it. And then when you love that, you put it in the fridge. The fridge will help to preserve it, but it is still fermenting very slowly in the fridge. So it would take a longer time for it to break down. But I've seen it where, like, you know, in 3 months or so, my pickles started getting soggy. So you have to just kind of test. I think I had my fermentation fridge, which I ended up cranking my temperature up. So the colder the storage, the slower the ferment, and it should keep it at the same texture and flavor that you stored it at. But these ferments are alive. They just continue going. You just have to slow it or, you know, speed it up. Okay, so we have the time, you know, monitor, especially during the first 3 days, burping, as it says there, once or twice daily. If it is effervescent, put it on a towel, put it on a tray, taste as you go. The salt is kind of eaten up, yeah, as it goes. The salt is used as food as well as a preservation from preventing it from rotting, right, and molding. The longer the fermentation, and it enhances the nutrient value, but the texture gets kind of soggy. So it's like a balance. But by day 7, you're into the trillions of colony forming units of bacteria. You're good, right? Unless if you want 10 trillion, then that's per tablespoon too, by the way. So yeah, so usually by day 7 to 9, that is like the desirable time frame to get all your nutritional value. And then it's kind of up to you what kind of texture you like and what flavor you like. If you like it salty, sour, whatever. And then store in the fridge, like I said, for months, up to 3 years, but it could change the texture because it is still fermenting. Depends how cold your storage is. And no heat sealing. I don't seal any of these. They kind of naturally seal sometimes just by sitting around, by probably like from room temperature to fridge, and then it seals. But there's no heat seal applied on these. I want to keep them raw, and that's what I suggest you guys do as well. Any heat applied to this will diminish your nutrient value, right? That makes sense? So here we are. That is your probiotic pickling workshop. Add pickles, add carrots, all the sorts of things. I know on the ad, I did talk about beet kvass, and I just wanted to really focus on the pickles because it's easy, as you guys just saw, but it's a little trickier. Beet kvass is even easier. Can you believe it? It's literally the same thing where you're throwing beets and water and salt and whatever spices you want. You let it sit. It's a 3-day ferment because beets have sugar, right? So I'm not demoing that today, but I just wanted to let you know that I do have 2 demo videos I've done on Instagram. So if you want to go look at my Herbal Mama, the Herbal Mama, on Instagram, there's 2 beet kvass videos that kind of go over that. And I will be coming out with actually I already did a recording in this test kitchen for beet kvass. So that'll be coming out shortly on YouTube, and that'll go through a little bit more detail. But honestly, beet kvass is probably the easiest thing, and it's, you know, beets are such medicine. So think about 100-time increase in the nutrient value. You're getting this powerhouse. Like, kvass is a Slavic word for ferment, and it's an old world energy tonic. They still have it on the corners of places like Russia, and they have their little ladle, and they're like, kvass, kvass. And they drink it like Red Bull, like coffee, because it actually gets your nitric oxide going, it gets your blood flowing, it gives you energy to the brain. So that's just beets in general, but it's the fermentation that increases the nutrient value of your beets. And because of the sugars, there's a specific way to ferment it, but you don't do it for very long. So yeah, so here's the finished product. Ta-da! It's like 7 days have gone by. There are no more questions at all?
No, if you could just if we could let Candy know that the book has been sent to her via Facebook. See if she can
okay, messenger sort of thing.
Maybe ask if anybody else has problems, because I want them following along with my recipes.
Yeah, guys, anybody else have problems looking at their phone? Because Christina needs you following along with her recipes. Her workshop's coming up right away, 1:30. We're gonna have a half-hour break, and then right back on these on the same, you know, Herbal Mama channel.
And we can just forward it on Facebook if needed. I downloaded them, so.
Okay, and we can forward it to your messenger. So just put whatever your name is on Facebook, and so we can send it to your messenger. We probably have to friend request them. Or email.
Just put your email.
Just put maybe another email and see if you can find it on your phone. Or go grab your laptop, maybe.
If you have one.
If you have one. If you don't have one, okay. Yeah, so we'll try Candy's. Sorry about that. And hopefully, maybe I can just send you,
She's got it. Candy's got it. I sent.
She got it, and
I
it
sent
worked.
her on Facebook.
And Facebook worked.
Yeah,
Better than
Facebook
email.
worked. Yeah.
That's weird. Okay, but anyways.
Just the way the attachment was, I think.
Yeah, just PDF attachments are strange. I get it. Yeah, so whatever phone. So anyway, so here's the finished product, guys. Here's a close-up of the pickles. You can tell by the coloration, right? Here's a cucumber. Here's a pickle. I don't like size. Not true to size. But
Mr. Rogers, here's a cucumber.
here's a cucumber. Here's a pickle. Here's a pickle earring. Listen, okay, so guys, come in. Well, I'm gonna crunch mine on the camera. Here's a little one for the little fairy.
Oh boy.
And then
Put over the tin.
the second little fairy. 1, 2, 3, crunch. And the flavor is like you get, it's different. It's almost different than my usual pickles. It almost tastes fresher. How is that possible? I'm using like the other dill.
Good.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention.
Juicy.
It's juicy and crunchy and flavorful. And my pickles I use for my market, I put a little bit of vinegar in. That's why they're different. And the vinegar does add more of like a Bix kind of flavor. I'm 1 minute over, forgive me. But the vinegar slows down the fermentation. So it has a longer storage. That's why I use vinegar. And then vinegar adds a different flavor profile. But I like these. They have like a fresh pickle flavor. They're still crunchy. There's your pickle in the middle. I'm crunching into the mic. You guys can hear it. Okay, now I'm getting weird. But anyways, that was delicious. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that. Thank you so much for joining. Our first time ever. More of these are to come. This is my dream. So here we are. First step towards our big dreams. And so stay tuned for Chef Christina. She's coming up and she's gonna cook up, not even cook, she's gonna prepare some healthy holiday treats. And I'm so excited to try those. And then after that, we're gonna do a little bonus. We're just gonna go live, maybe on Facebook too, hey?
Yeah.
Maybe figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But definitely YouTube.
We'll wing it.
And we're gonna do a wing it recipe at the end because we got a bunch of ingredients donated. So we're just gonna make, it's so easy to just throw things together once you have the basic recipe. That's what we're showing us. The test kitchen, there's so many ways to make healthy recipes once you know the basics, right? So yeah, so don't forget, contact me. There's my number. There's my email. Go to my website. Here's all my products. I have sauerkraut, beet kvass. I can talk into the mic. Pickle juice, dill pickle sauerkraut. That's basically pickles and sauerkraut mixed together. We've got pickles, we've got the sauerkraut. On the website, there's 2 markets that are coming up. One's next weekend, the other one's December 13th. And you can pre-order and just do a pickup, quick in and out the market, all good. So thanks for joining. And we have one more question.
Darlene says, nice crunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darlene. That was fun. Okay. All right, we'll catch you guys later.
See you back in 30
See you in 30. Be back. Be there or be square.
for some sweets.
And I have to awkwardly come and turn this off.